I am Easleep, the storyteller who guides you into rest, with whispers light as the wind and a rhythm gentle as a quiet breath. I'll stay beside you on your journey back to peace after a long day. I wish you a truly good night. Deep, soft and easing, may your tiredness melt away like morning mist, and may sleep come to you as tenderly as a warm blanket. May your night be peaceful, and may you wake with the gentle smile of a new morning. I didn't know why I had chosen that train that night. The late departure, the nearly empty car, the soft rattle of wheels over steel rails. It all felt like a deliberate accident. Maybe I was looking for something I couldn't name, something I'd been denying in myself for months. The car was dim, the overhead lights flickering faintly, a dull green glow that pooled over the worn Naugahyde seats. Most passengers were asleep, or pretending to be. I chose a window seat, facing forward, my bag clutched loosely in my lap, knuckles white. The city had already slipped away hours ago, replaced by dark fields, occasional clusters of orange streetlights, and the endless hum of the train's engines. He was there when I looked up, though he had to have been there before. Sitting across the aisle, a few rows ahead, his posture slight but rigid, in a way that commanded attention. He didn't smile. He didn't look like anyone else in the car. His jacket was draped over the seat beside him, the collar turned up, hair brushed back, but not perfectly. Eyes shadowed with exhaustion, the kind that isn't about work, but about a lifetime of carrying too much and sharing too little. I felt the pull immediately, a gravity that didn't require words. He didn't glance around for anyone else. He didn't fidget, just sat, watching the rhythm of the train, a silent observer, an older man who had learned to exist in the space between presence and absence. I should have looked away. I shouldn't have let myself notice the curve of his jaw, the line of his throat beneath the collar of that shirt, the quiet tension of his shoulders. But I didn't. The train jolted slightly as it shifted onto another track. I caught my breath, and he turned towards the motion with a small, almost imperceptible wince. That moment alone, subtle, fleeting, felt intimate. A man who had lived long enough to feel pain quietly, alone. Minutes later, he shifted again, and our eyes met. A fraction too long to be casual. He didn't smile, he didn't speak, he just looked. And in that look, I felt a thread of understanding, a depth of loneliness, an ache that matched something inside me. I stood and walked slowly down the aisle, pretending to adjust my bag, pretending to be anywhere else. But when I passed his row, the air seemed to thicken. He didn't move. His gaze followed me in a way that was careful, respectful, and devastating all at once. My stomach clenched. My legs trembled. My chest throbbed with something I didn't want to name. I shouldn't be here. And yet I couldn't leave. I slid into the seat across from him, close enough that I could feel the faint heat radiating from him, far enough that nothing explicit could happen, nothing could be claimed. The aisle was empty, the hum of the train steady. My bag rested at my feet, my hands in my lap. I could smell the faint musk of his jacket, clean, warm, slightly cedar, and it made my pulse quicken. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. His eyes, quiet and steady, held me. A man who had spent decades learning to endure grief, loss, solitude, and still carried the weight without complaint. I felt that weight pressing gently into my awareness, like the first touch of something dangerous, yet tender. I moved slightly, crossing my legs, and the leather of my boots brushed against his knee by accident. He didn't flinch, he didn't adjust. He just held the space, letting the contact linger like it meant something it shouldn't. My breath caught. A sound slipped from me. Half exhale, half whisper. A tremor that seemed too loud in the quiet of the train car. "Are you cold?" His voice was low, careful, not reaching for me but acknowledging me. "A little," I murmured, aware of the ridiculousness of answering the question while my chest heaved in reaction. to him simply existing. He leaned forward slightly, enough that the light caught the lines of his face, the hollow beneath his eyes, the tension in his jaw, the gentleness in his gaze that was almost frightening in its intensity. He didn't touch me. He didn't need to. His proximity alone was a confession. His quiet ache filled the space between us. I felt my fingers tremble, resting on my knees. The hair at my temples clung to my damp skin from the drizzle outside. My lips were dry, my pulse erratic, every nerve ending awake. I tried to focus on anything else. The motion of the train, the faint smell of engine oil, the occasional clatter over a switch. But I couldn't. I could only feel him. A small jolt. A pause. His hand rested near his own lap, still. His gaze didn't leave mine. There was something in that silence, a restraint so deliberate, so careful, that it became its own kind of intimacy. Not possession, not claim, just recognition. A man who had been unseen for decades finally being seen. Quietly, carefully, without expectation, without words. I shouldn't have leaned toward him, and yet I did. I shifted, my shoulder brushing the edge of his seat. The movement was tiny, accidental, but I felt him respond, not with movement, but with a change in the tension around him, a subtle inhale, a pause that could have been a sigh. The train rattled along a curve, and I caught the fleeting scent of cedar and warmth again. It was grounding. It was dangerous. It was everything I had been craving without knowing it. He finally spoke again, just above a whisper. "You shouldn't be doing this." "I know," I said, a beat. His eyes softened, his jaw relaxed fractionally. There was longing there, quiet, silent, restrained. And also something heavier, a hint of fear he didn't name. "Then why are you here?" "I don't know," I admitted. And that was enough. The rest of the world, the train, the darkened car, the city we'd left behind, disappeared. There was only us, the silent hum of the engine, the faint click of rails, the warmth of a stranger who shouldn't matter, and yet did. We sat like that for the next hour, close enough that our arms occasionally brushed, close enough that the faint heat of him seeped into me, close enough that the ache of longing, the ache of needing, became unbearable. Not a single word more about why, when, or how. Just presence. Just acknowledgement. Just the quiet confession of two people who had gone too long without being held. I thought I was just passing through the night. But maybe I had been searching for him all along. The train rattled beneath us, carrying its slow, steady weight through the dark fields outside. The hum of the engine, the occasional clatter over a track joint, it all blended into a rhythm that matched the pulse in my veins. I was acutely aware of him, of every subtle shift he made, every inhale that trembled just enough to suggest restraint, every quiet glance that lingered on me longer than it should. I shifted again in my seat, letting my bag fall to the floor. The motion brought my leg closer to his, just an inch, barely noticeable. But the effect was immediate. He didn't flinch, didn't pull away. He only tilted his head slightly, eyes tracing my outline, like he was memorizing the curve of my shoulders, the line of my neck, the small flare of my hips beneath the coat I hadn't bothered to close fully. I shouldn't be doing this, and yet every instinct in me leaned toward him, toward the warmth, toward the ache I couldn't explain. His hands rested loosely on his knees, not reaching, not claiming, but present, solid, steady. And that quiet restraint, that careful awareness of distance, made my stomach twist with a hunger I didn't want to name. He was older, yes, lines at the corners of his eyes, a hair slightly greying at the temples, but there was strength in him. Strength tempered by years of loss, of silence, of unspoken needs. And now, sitting so close, I could feel it radiating outward, quietly pulling me in. The train jolted again, and I leaned forward slightly, my elbow brushing his arm. A tiny, accidental contact. He didn't move, Didn't flinch, didn't comment. Just breathed in, slowly, deliberately, as though acknowledging the contact without claiming it. And I felt the shiver that ran up my spine, the pulse in my wrists, the warmth spreading in my chest. "I didn't think anyone would be on this car at this hour," he said, finally. His voice was low, calm, yet there was an edge beneath it, a tension I could feel as much as hear. Neither did I admitted. My throat tightened. The words sounded too loud in the quiet car, and I regretted speaking almost immediately. My fingers flexed nervously on my knees. He looked at me then, not directly, not challengingly, just taking in the sight of me, the way my coat hung, the dampness of my hair clinging to my neck, the tremor in my hands. He didn't reach out, didn't adjust his posture to come closer. Just watched, saw me. And that alone was enough to make me feel exposed, raw, trembling. I swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how little space existed between us. One seat, one small aisle. The faintest brush of air from the train's ventilation brought my scent to him, my warmth, and the almost imperceptible tremor in my body. He inhaled, slow, measured, the faintest hitch in his breath, betraying the restraint he was keeping. I could lose myself here, and I wanted to. I shifted again, this time letting my hand rest lightly on the armrest between us. Close enough that he could feel it if he wanted. Close enough that I could feel the warmth from him radiating across the narrow aisle. His eyes flicked to it, just a brief glance, and then back to my face. That hesitation, that restraint, made my pulse quicken. He didn't pull away. He didn't claim it. But he acknowledged it in the subtlest, most devastating way. "Why are you here?" he asked, voice quiet, but not an interrogation. Just a question, filled with a depth of curiosity and something heavier I couldn't name. I don't know, I whispered. My hands curled into my lap. My legs shifted closer to his, without thinking. The train car was empty, but it felt like the world had shrunk around us, contracting until it was nothing but this small, dangerous bubble. His gaze softened. The lines around his eyes deepened in a way that suggested both longing and pain. I saw it there, hidden in the quiet corners of his expression. Decades of unspoken need, of loneliness held tightly behind calm eyes, of grief carried silently. That ache, that quiet gravity, pressed into me, filling me with a strange warmth and a quiet desperation. We didn't speak for several minutes. The only sounds were the train's movement, my shallow breaths, and the faint rattle of something sliding in the overhead bin. I could feel him breathing near me, measured, careful, the faintest tremor betraying the emotional weight he carried but didn't name. Every second was intimate. Every pause was heavy, with things neither of us would speak aloud. My hand twitched slightly on the armrest. He didn't react at first. Then very slowly, very gently, his hand moved toward mine, stopping just short, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. My pulse spiked. My throat went dry. My breath hitched. And he didn't take it further. He didn't press. He just lingered there, letting the nearness exist in its own fragile, charged space. "I shouldn't be feeling this," he murmured, voice rough with something unspoken. "Neither should I admitted, and the confession hung between us like smoke, suffocating and thrilling all at once. He leaned back slightly, just enough to give himself distance, but not enough to break the tension. His hands rested on his knees again. His eyes, quiet and steady, didn't leave mine. That look, filled with restraint, longing, grief, and careful attention, made my stomach twist. I could sit here forever, and I would. The train rattled again, and we shifted slightly with the movement, our bodies inching closer without planning it. The air between us was thick, almost tangible. I could smell his faint scent, clean, warm, slightly cedar, and it filled the tiny space between us. It made my pulse quicken in ways words couldn't describe. A small sound escaped me. Half breath, half sigh, and he flinched just a fraction. Not away, not toward me, just flinched. The faintest acknowledgement that my presence affected him as much as his presence affected me. "Don't," he whispered, almost under his breath. "Don't get too close." "I can't help it," I said. My voice was barely audible, trembling with emotion I couldn't control. And for a long minute, we simply sat there. Close enough to feel one another's warmth, close enough to be consumed by it, yet restrained enough that nothing could be claimed. Nothing had to be. Just the ache of presence, the pull of proximity, the unbearable weight of having gone too long without being seen, and finally being seen. I wanted to stay here until the end of the line, and I knew deep down that he did too. The train's gentle rocking had become a rhythm I could no longer ignore. My fingers itched to adjust my hair, to smooth the damp strands that clung to my neck, but every movement brought me closer to him, closer than I probably should have been. Yet I couldn't stop myself. There was a gravity in the way he held himself, the quiet restraint in his posture, that drew me in like the tide to the shore. He shifted slightly, and our knees brushed this time. A tiny, almost accidental contact, but it sent heat curling through me from my toes to my jaw. I caught my breath, and for a moment I imagined reaching further, an inch closer, a hand resting lightly on the curve of his arm. He didn't flinch. He didn't recoil. He just remained still, steady, a silent anchor I could sink into. I shouldn't want this, and yet every part of me was reaching, craving, aching for it. His eyes met mine, and I could see it there. The restraint, the unspoken longing, the years of keeping himself in check, the quiet ache beneath his calm exterior. A man who had endured too many losses, too many silences, too many nights alone. It pressed into me, solid and real. And I wanted to soothe it, to touch it, to acknowledge it in the only way I could, by being present. I shifted again, closer this time. Our arms almost touched, a breath away. I felt the warmth radiating off him, subtle but undeniable, a heat that made my pulse quicken. His gaze flickered to the space between us, and I caught the briefest inhalation, a fraction too long, a tiny crack in the restraint he maintained. My stomach fluttered, my chest rose unevenly, my hands tightened in my lap. "You feel different," he said quietly, almost to himself, not addressing me directly. His voice had that low, steady quality that carried weight, even in a whisper. I looked at him, trying to read the subtle lines of his expression. "Different how?" I asked softly, my voice trembling just enough to betray my nerves. "Like alive?" he murmured, and then immediately turned his gaze to the window, as if embarrassed to have said it. The train lights flickered across his profile, highlighting the faint shadows under his eyes, the small crease at the corner of his mouth, the way his shoulders were just slightly tense. I felt a pull in my chest, a mix of warmth and longing I hadn't allowed myself to name. I wanted to reach across the aisle, to lay a hand on his arm, to let him know he wasn't alone. I wanted to lean into him, to let the rhythm of the train carry us somewhere safe. Instead, I stayed still, letting the proximity do the work, letting the silence speak louder than words could. This is dangerous, and I'm drawn to it anyway. A jolt from the train made me lurch slightly, and he reached out instinctively, catching my elbow with a gentle, firm touch. Just that, just the brush of his hand, sent a shiver through me. I could feel the heat of him through the fabric of our clothes. He didn't hold on, didn't take it further, just let his hand linger for a heartbeat, before retreating. The restraint, the careful attention, made my chest ache in ways I didn't expect. I wanted to speak, to say something that would break the tension, but the words caught. Instead, I just let my eyes find his, searching for whatever understanding might be there. And he gave it to me, not in words, but in the tilt of his head, the quiet depth in his gaze, the way his presence seemed to wrap around me like a fragile shield. Minutes passed. The train hummed beneath us. Shadows from the overhead lights danced across the floor, across the seats, across the small space between us. My pulse slowed, yet my body remained alert, tuned to every subtle movement, every barely there shift of his weight, every hint of emotion that flickered across his face. I've never felt so aware of another person in my life. The car creaked, and the faint vibration of the train pressed against our legs. I let my hand move slightly, almost grazing the edge of the seat where he sat. He didn't move away. He didn't acknowledge it outwardly, but I felt it. The awareness, the silent ache, the unspoken question. Was I here because he needed this too? I wanted to ask, but I didn't. Words felt too loud, too dangerous. Instead, I leaned back slightly, letting the warmth of his presence wash over me, feeling the tension in his shoulders soften, just a fraction. That subtle easing was enough. That acknowledgement, no matter how quiet, was all I needed. He shifted again, a small movement, and our eyes met for a long, unbroken moment. The ache in his gaze, the quiet restraint, the restrained longing, spoke louder than any confession ever could. And in that moment, I realized how much I wanted to hold him, to let him know that he didn't have to carry everything alone, even if just for a fleeting instant. I began, my voice breaking slightly. I don't know why I feel like this. He didn't respond immediately. His eyes held mine, steady, heavy, with things he didn't say. The silence stretched, thick and comforting and dangerous all at once. Then he whispered, "Maybe. Some things don't need a reason." I swallowed hard. His words, simple and unadorned, carried a weight that made my chest ache. That quiet admission, that restraint mixed with longing, was more intimate than anything either of us could have forced into words. The train rattled again, and I rested my hand lightly on my knee, close enough that our legs almost touched. I could feel the warmth radiating off him, subtle but undeniable. I breathed, slow and deliberate, trying to anchor myself while letting the tension pull me closer. I knew this wouldn't last, but I wanted it anyway. And there, in the narrow, dimly lit car, moving through the night, with only the rhythm of the train and the quiet ache between us, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not desire, not lust, not even love. Just recognition. Just the fragile, trembling proof that we could exist together. In a shared silence that said everything we couldn't. The train carried us forward, and with every jolt, every faint vibration, every flicker of the overhead lights, the world outside ceased to exist. There was only the ache, only the closeness, only the quiet presence of a man who had been unseen and a woman who had finally found him. Even if just for this small, impossible stretch of time. The train had slowed slightly, the night outside stretching endlessly. Shadows flickered across the car as the dim lights above hummed softly. I kept my gaze on him, tracing the line of his jaw, the curve of his shoulders, the subtle tension in the way he sat. He hadn't moved toward me, yet every inch of space between us seemed charged, heavy with what we didn't say. I shouldn't want this, and yet every part of me leaned toward him. I shifted slightly, closer this time. Our knees touched, just barely, and a jolt of heat ran through me. He didn't flinch. He didn't move. He only breathed, slow and deliberate, letting the moment exist without forcing it into words or actions. That restraint, that quiet control, made my chest ache. I wanted to reach out, to let him know that I saw him, that I recognized the weight he carried, the loneliness he had lived with for decades. He glanced at me briefly, eyes soft but unreadable. The corners of his mouth hinted at a small, fleeting expression, like a secret he almost shared. I felt my hand twitch, wanting to touch him, to anchor myself against the ache building inside me. I didn't. Instead, I let my fingers rest lightly on my own knee, close to his, and let the warmth between us speak. "You feel different tonight," he murmured, almost to himself. His voice was low, quiet, carrying the subtle weight of everything he didn't say. I don't know," I admitted. My voice cracked, small and fragile. I could feel my pulse racing, the tremor in my hands, the pull in my stomach that made every nerve alive. He didn't move. He didn't need to. Just being there, so near, so steady, so quietly aching, was enough to make me tremble. His presence filled the car in a way that left no room for anything else. No thoughts, no distractions, no city outside. Just him, just me, just the unspoken tension stretching across the narrow aisle. I wanted to melt into it. I wanted to let it consume me completely. A subtle shift, the faint creak of the seat, and our arms brushed. A grazing contact that sent a shiver from my spine to the tips of my fingers. He didn't pull away. He didn't acknowledge it overtly. But I could feel it. The silent recognition, the shared understanding, the unspoken admission that this closeness was dangerous and necessary all at once. I leaned slightly toward him, drawn by the gravity of his presence. The heat of him, the quiet ache that radiated, without a single word, made my breath hitch. My hair fell forward, brushing my cheek, and I felt the weight of his gaze on me, absorbing every detail, every subtle shiver, every hesitant motion. "You don't have to say anything," he whispered, voice low and roughened by something unspoken. "I don't know what to say," I admitted. My throat tightened. The words were too loud, too revealing, too fragile. I wanted him to understand without needing explanation. I wanted him to feel the same pull, the same ache, the same fragile tension that gripped me. He leaned back slightly, just enough to create space, but not enough to break the connection. The faint scent of his jacket, warm and clean, reached me. I could feel the faint heat of him through the seat, and every nerve ending in my body hummed with awareness. The silent ache in his gaze, the unspoken longing, was almost unbearable. I've never been so aware of another person, and never so helpless to resist them. The train rattled again, gently, a slow vibration that traveled from my feet to my chest. My hands flexed in my lap, curling and uncurling, restless, searching. His eyes held mine, steady, calm, and yet the tension in them betrayed everything. Years of silence, of carrying the weight alone, of longing without acknowledgement. I wanted to reach out, to let him know he wasn't alone. My fingers twitched again, the small motion intentional this time, almost brushing his knee. He didn't move, didn't acknowledge it outwardly, but I felt it. The recognition, the silent acceptance, the fragile connection that was our only confession. He exhaled slowly, a tiny, almost imperceptible sound that seemed to shake the restraint just a little. I wanted to lean in, to let the night swallow us, to let the rhythm of the train carry us somewhere we didn't need to define. But I didn't. I stayed just close enough to feel him, just far enough to preserve the impossible tension. "You're dangerous," he whispered. Not a warning, not a rebuke, just an observation, soft and heavy. "I know," I breathed, barely audibly. "And so are you." That made him smile, just slightly, fleetingly, a small crease at the corner of his eyes. Not a full smile, but enough to ignite something in me. That restrained acknowledgement, his subtle surrender to the moment, was more intimate than any touch could be. I wanted this night to last forever, and I knew it couldn't. The train hummed on, carrying us through the dark fields, through silence, through tension, through the ache of something forbidden but necessary. I rested my hand lightly on the edge of my seat, close to him, letting the heat and the tension exist without forcing it. It was enough. It was devastating. It was real. And in that suspended moment, I understood something. Closeness wasn't about possession or claim or even desire. It was about recognition, about survival, about letting another human being know they weren't invisible, even if only for a fleeting, trembling instant. I leaned back, my breath finally steadying, and allowed myself to simply exist next to him. The ache was still there, quiet and insistent, but now it was shared. And that made all the difference. The train slowed further, the rhythmic clatter of wheels on rails stretching into the night like a heartbeat we could both feel. I could feel it in my chest, in my stomach, in the trembling of my fingers. Every subtle motion he made, every inhale, every blink carried weight. Decades of quiet longing, loss, restraint, and it pressed into me, insistent and undeniable. I shifted again, this time leaning slightly toward him. My shoulder brushed his. Not fully, not intentionally, but enough. Enough to ignite a spark that ran up my spine, curling into my chest. He didn't move away. He didn't need to. Just his presence, steady and strong yet quietly aching, held me in place. I shouldn't want this, and yet I couldn't stop myself. His gaze held mine, slow, deliberate, unflinching. There was something raw there. A quiet ache that wasn't just about longing, but about years of isolation, of being unseen, of waiting. I wanted to tell him I saw it. I wanted to tell him I understood. But the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I let my hand rest lightly on the seat between us, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating off me if he wanted. The faintest inhalation escaped him. I could hear it, feel it in the subtle tension of his body. Not a confession, not a surrender, just a whisper of what was simmering beneath the surface. That tiny, almost imperceptible sound made my stomach twist, my pulse race. "You," he began, voice low, careful, as if the words themselves might break the fragile spell. Then he paused. The tension in his jaw and the quiet in his eyes spoke louder than anything he said. He didn't continue. He didn't need to. The silence carried everything. I leaned just a fraction closer. My hair brushed against his arm. My breath hitched. "I can't," I whispered. My voice trembled, a fragile thread of sound that seemed to hang in the air between us. He didn't respond immediately. His eyes, however, softened, the lines around them deepening, in a way that told me more than words ever could. He reached slowly, ever so deliberately, and rested a hand near mine on the armrest. Not touching fully, not claiming, just acknowledging. Just letting me know he was there. That single deliberate gesture made my knees weak. I felt the heat radiating from him, subtle but undeniable. My fingers twitched, hovering over his hand, torn between daring and retreating. Every second, every micro movement, every flicker of expression carried the weight of years, of solitude, of silent ache. "I shouldn't," I began, my breath catching in my throat. The train rocked gently, a subtle vibration that seemed to echo the tension coiling in my chest. He didn't finish for me. He didn't need to. His eyes held mine, steady, carrying everything unspoken. Grief, restraint, desire, fear, and something softer, almost tender. I felt it settle over me, heavy and warm, pressing into me in a way that made my body ache with longing and fear all at once. I wanted to be closer. I wanted to know he felt the same way. A shiver ran through me. I inhaled sharply, and the sound caught his attention. He glanced down at me briefly, his jaw tightening just slightly, a flicker of something he didn't name crossing his features. I knew then that he felt it too. The pull, the tension, the fragile edge of something forbidden and necessary. I let my hand drift, almost unconsciously, brushing the back of my fingers against the armrest between us. Closer to him now. The air seemed to thrum around us. He didn't move away. He didn't reach for me fully either. But his gaze followed the movement, steady and silent, filled with a quiet ache that resonated deep in my chest. I whispered again. I want to, but I shouldn't. He exhaled, a long, soft breath. The restraint in his posture, the careful distance he kept while still radiating warmth, made my heart pound. I know, he said finally, voice low and roughened by something unspoken. My chest tightened. The ache in me matched the ache in him. I wanted more, wanted him to acknowledge the tension, the pull, the need we both felt but couldn't name. Instead, I let my head tilt slightly, letting the subtle warmth of proximity fill the space, letting the quiet acknowledgement between us speak louder than words ever could. I've never wanted anyone like this, and never like this. The train rattled again, a gentle jolt that pressed our knees lightly together. My breath hitched. His eyes flicked to the point of contact, then back to mine. Not anger, not surprise, just recognition, understanding, a fragile, shared surrender to the tension that had been building all night. A tiny sound escaped me, a soft, broken breath, a whisper, a fragment of longing. No, yes. The words tumbled out, fragmented, helpless, impossible to control, betraying every nerve alive in me. He didn't move. He didn't claim it. He only exhaled slowly, almost imperceptibly, letting the tension exist, letting me exist, letting both of us survive this moment, without needing to name it. His presence was more intimate than any touch could be, more necessary than any confession. And in that suspended second, I realized the truth. Closeness wasn't about possession or fulfillment or even desire. It was about recognition, about acknowledging the ache that had lived in us for years, about surviving together, even for this fleeting instant. I leaned back, my hand finally resting fully in my lap. My chest rose and fell, my pulse slowly steadying, and I let the quiet settle over us like a fragile shield. The night carried on outside. The train hummed beneath us. And for the first time in a long while, I felt seen. Not because of what I wanted, but because of what we shared, fragile and unspoken. The train lurched slightly, the overhead lights flickering in rhythm with the rails. The car was nearly empty, shadows pooling in the corners, leaving only the soft, heavy space between us. I could feel the heat radiating from him, subtle but undeniable, filling the tiny gap like a force I couldn't escape. Every part of me was alert, my fingers itching, my chest tight, my stomach coiled with tension and desire I didn't dare name. He shifted slightly, and our knees brushed again, this time intentionally, a gentle pressure that made my pulse spike. He didn't speak, didn't move away, didn't close the distance fully. Just that deliberate, careful touch was enough to set my nerves on fire. The restraint in him, the control he maintained while silently acknowledging everything we both wanted, made my chest ache in ways I hadn't known were possible. I shouldn't be here, and yet I can't stop myself. His gaze caught mine, holding steady, carrying the weight of unspoken words, years of isolation, and a quiet hunger he didn't dare voice. I could see the faint tremor in his hands as they rested near his knees, the subtle tension in his jaw, the quiet pull of longing that didn't need explanation. I wanted to bridge the distance between us, to let him know I felt it too, that I recognized the ache he carried like a second skin. A small sound escaped me, a soft, broken breath, a fragment of the helpless, uncontrollable emotion curling through me. I don't... My voice faltered, the words catching in my throat. I couldn't articulate what I was feeling, not fully, not yet. He leaned in just enough that our shoulders touched, warm and electric, and I felt the vibration of the train echo through our connection. He didn't reach for more, didn't claim, didn't even speak. He just existed, present, steady, and impossibly restrained. And that presence alone made me tremble. The subtle shift of his body toward mine was deliberate and silent, a confession without words. I whispered, voice fragile. The syllables fell apart on my tongue, fragments of desire, hesitation, and fear. His hand moved, almost imperceptibly, near mine. Not touching, not pressing, just hovering with quiet intent. That small gesture, so restrained yet so full of meaning, made every nerve in my body hum. I could feel the warmth of him through the fabric of his clothes, through the small space that still separated us, and it made my stomach twist with longing and restraint. The ache in his gaze, the silent, restrained hunger, was almost unbearable. I wanted to lean into it, to let the moment consume me, but fear and awareness of boundaries held me back. I remained poised on the knife edge of control and surrender, every inch of me alive with tension. This is dangerous, and yet I want it more than anything. A subtle jolt from the train made our knees press together, slightly heavier this time, and I let a shiver escape me, soft, uncontrolled. He didn't flinch. His gaze flickered, only for a moment, to the contact, then back to mine, steady, holding, patient. The restraint was electric, an unspoken acknowledgement that we both felt the same pull but had to navigate it carefully. I began again, the words fragile and tremulous. I shouldn't feel this way. He exhaled, slow and deliberate, a faint sound that seemed to carry years of restraint and silent longing. Maybe some things aren't meant to be understood, he murmured. His voice, low and husky, brushed against my consciousness, leaving an ache I couldn't name. I felt my hand move almost unconsciously, tracing the edge of the seat, inching closer to his, almost daring to bridge the gap. His eyes followed the motion, and I saw it there. Recognition, need, hesitation, restraint, all layered over the quiet ache he carried so long alone. I wanted to collapse into it, to let him feel the same relief, the same human connection I did. The air between us thickened, my breath hitched. A fragmented sound escaped me. Yes? A tangled, trembling confession of everything my body felt, but my mind couldn't explain. He didn't reach, didn't guide, didn't push. He just exhaled slowly, letting the tension hang, letting me exist in it, letting us both survive the intensity without a word, without crossing a line we weren't ready for. That restraint, that patient, heavy, silent acknowledgement, was more intimate than anything we could have forced into action. And in that moment, suspended between desire and restraint, I realized the truth. This closeness wasn't about ownership or fulfillment, or even desire. It was about recognition, about letting another human being know they were seen, even if only for a fleeting, trembling instant. About survival, about acknowledging the male silent ache, the quiet loneliness, the decades of being unseen, and being present fully without words. I leaned back slightly, letting my pulse slow, letting the warmth of proximity settle over me. The train hummed beneath us, carrying us forward, and the world outside ceased to exist. There was only the tension, only the ache, only the shared, fragile understanding that for this moment, we weren't alone. I wanted more, I knew we couldn't, but just feeling him, knowing he felt the same, was enough to keep me suspended on the edge of what we couldn't name, what we couldn't touch, what we both secretly craved but didn't dare claim. Chuyến. The train slowed to a near stop, the rhythmic clatter of wheels fading into a soft hum beneath us. Outside, darkness stretched endlessly, punctuated by the occasional flicker of distant lights. Inside, the space between us seemed impossibly charged, as if the air itself carried every heartbeat, every breath, every unspoken longing. I could feel it. His presence, steady and patient, filled the car like gravity, anchoring me in a way I had never known. I leaned slightly, letting the warmth of his shoulder brush against mine. It wasn't full contact, not a claim, just enough to feel him, to feel the subtle, restrained heat he radiated. My chest rose unevenly. My fingers twitched, hovering near his hand without touching. Every nerve alive, every breath a reminder of the fragile, forbidden intimacy we shared. I wanted this night to stretch forever. I knew it couldn't. He exhaled, slow and deliberate, and I saw it. That flicker of acknowledgement in his eyes, the quiet ache beneath his control. The decades of restraint and solitude distilled into one fragile moment. He didn't reach fully, didn't press forward, didn't claim me. He simply existed, letting me feel him, letting the tension hum between us without breaking it. That restraint, that patience, was more intimate than any embrace could have been. My breath hitched, small, involuntary, and I let out a fragmented whisper. I don't... Words failed me, broken against the raw heat of proximity. I couldn't articulate what I felt, not fully. I could only let the moment exist, suspended in the soft hum of the train. He shifted slightly, his arm brushing mine, just barely, a teasing, fleeting contact that made my stomach twist. His gaze met mine, slow, heavy, full of unspoken confession. I saw the silent ache in him, the loneliness, the grief, the years of being unseen. And I wanted to soothe it, to acknowledge it, to be the warmth he'd been denied for too long. I whispered again, the word catching in my throat. I need... My voice broke, fragile and trembling, fragments of desire spilling out like sparks in the dark. He exhaled, a small, almost imperceptible sound. Not a word, not a move, just acknowledgement, just presence. Just letting me know he was here, that he saw me, that he felt the same fragile tension. That alone was more intimate than anything I could have demanded. The train creaked, shifting gently, and our knees pressed together, intentional this time. My fingers flexed, almost brushing the edge of his hand, hovering in that fragile space. His gaze followed the movement, steady, patient, filled with quiet longing. He didn't flinch. He didn't move away. He only exhaled slowly, letting the electricity exist without claiming it, letting us both survive the intensity without crossing the line. I've never felt anyone like this, and never so acutely. I leaned back slightly, letting the subtle warmth between us settle, letting the ache wash over me in waves. The male silent ache in him, the restraint, the loneliness, the quiet grief, pressed into me, and I pressed back in acknowledgement, letting him know without words that he wasn't alone, that he was seen. I tried again, voice fragile, barely audible. I don't want this to end. He closed his eyes, a small exhale, a fraction of a smile that didn't reach his mouth but did reach his eyes. Neither do I, he murmured, low, almost a whisper for the night itself. But some things some things can't last. I swallowed hard, feeling the ache twist deeper in my chest. We both knew it. The impossibility of our closeness, the danger of indulgence, the moral weight that hung silently between us. And yet, in this fleeting, trembling moment, it didn't matter. The train slowed to a complete stop. Outside, the darkness was absolute. Inside, we remained suspended, shoulders brushing, breath shallow and synchronous, eyes locked. No words, just recognition. No touch, just presence. No promises, just survival. I wanted more. I knew we couldn't have it. He exhaled again, slowly, deliberately, as if transferring a lifetime of restraint into the quiet space between us. I felt it. The warmth, the ache, the fragile connection we both knew we would leave behind. My fingers twitched one last time, almost daring to reach for him, almost daring to close the distance. But restraint held me back, respect held him back, and reality held us both. We rose simultaneously as the doors hissed open, the night outside waiting. I brushed a strand of damp hair from my cheek, heart hammering, pulse still racing from the impossible intimacy we'd shared. He offered a small nod, not a smile, a silent acknowledgement of what had passed, what had existed, and what we would carry alone. The moment was over. The train doors closed, and the world returned, but the ache remained, quiet, insistent, and undeniably alive. A whisper of something lost and briefly found. A fragment of connection that neither time nor morality could erase. I stepped off the train, the night air cold against my skin, and I realized that what we shared wasn't about desire or indulgence. It was about recognition, about surviving together, about letting another human being know they were seen, if only for a fleeting, trembling instant. And somewhere in the quiet I felt him there, carrying the same ache, surviving the same forbidden closeness, and somehow we both endured.